Hi, guys. Welcome back to Kitchen Court Cases, where we watch court in my kitchen. This is the third and final part of Mom versus YouTuber Daughter TPO hearing. I hope you enjoy the finale here, and I'd love to hear what you think. All right, let's go.
Anything else from for your direct?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Branch, you may cross-examine.
All right, thank you. And how are you doing, Miss Howard?
I'm okay. How are you?
All right, thanks for asking. So, I just want to ask you a few questions about your testimony. You mentioned that you testified in your father's or on your father's behalf in a hearing that was in November of 2022. Is that right?
My sister's father. Yes.
Okay. And it was your sister's father that called you as a witness?
Yes.
Okay, understand. And he wanted you to say that you were living together?
That my sister Victoria Orlu was living with me from July 2022 until November. Well, at that time, Victoria was still living with me, so that she was living with me since July of 2022.
Okay, and so Victoria lived with you, but your mother never lived with you. Is that right?
Never lived with me at this address, no.
Okay. Have you lived together, I guess, after 2021?
No.
No? Okay. And did you ever ask your mother to come and live with you?
Yeah, I actually did.
And do you recall when that was?
I don't recall when it was, but she was unstable at the time and she needed somewhere to stay. But when I set certain boundaries, she decided to live with a guy that she was seeing at the time.
Okay. And then the Ring camera footage that you shared, and then the studio footage, the security film.
Yes.
Your mother never got out of the vehicle, isn't that right?
My mom got out of the vehicle in the studio footage to help Victoria with her bags.
But she didn't approach you at all. She never approached you, and only Victoria ever went into your home.
So Victoria came into my home when she was trying to pick up her stuff when she was in my residence. At the studio, no, my mom never approached me. She just assisted my sister with her things in front of the studio.
Okay.
But I was on location.
Now, you're alleging that my client has stolen property from you in the past, isn't that right?
Multiple times.
Okay, and you sent over the communications you had with an investigator, I believe?
Yes.
There were several documents in those communications, weren't there? So attachments to those emails?
Yes.
Did you provide that? Do you have those exhibits for today's hearing?
I don't.
Okay. And you said that your mother's stolen $40,000 in the last 3 years?
Maybe more, but the designer bags were around 30,000. Yes.
Okay. And then so you threw designer bags into the trash as well?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't want to save that for evidence in that theft case?
No, because I decided to close that case because at the end of the day, it's materialistic things, and that's my mother. So No, I didn't want to press charges against my own mom.
Okay. And so you have merchandise. You receive merchandise from the profession you're in. It seems like you receive gifts, or I don't know if they're used for promotions, but it seems like you get a lot of free items. Does that sound right?
That's correct.
Have you ever given your mother some of those items?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned that the items in the box were a lot of the promotional items. Isn't that true?
I didn't mention that, no.
Okay. And so you just felt like sharing a photo of the boxes. Do you normally send your mother a picture when you take out the trash?
I sent her those photos because I finally had concrete proof that my mom stole my belongings. And she
Right.
was claiming those boxes as hers when everything in there was mine. The only thing that she could claim are seasonings, spices.
We don't know what. So you admit that there were some of your mom's belongings in the boxes?
No.
You just said some of her seasonings were in there.
Yeah, seasonings.
Okay. And you had concrete proof that your mother stole from you. But
Concrete.
so did you make an itemized list of everything in that box before you threw it out?
No, but I have all the receipts.
Did you produce those today?
No, but I keep receipts because I run multiple businesses.
So you just keep them, but you didn't think to show them today in today's hearing?
No, because
Okay.
they were mine anyway, so I just threw it out.
Okay. And did you post anything about finding this stolen property on Instagram or any of your other social media platforms?
Never.
So you just took the photos in boxes with really no way of knowing what's inside those boxes and send it to your mother.
I knew what was inside of those boxes because I looked in every single box.
Okay. So it's
including
concrete to you, but to the court, would you say it's concrete evidence that she stole?
Sorry?
Would you say that it's concrete evidence if we can't determine what's in the boxes besides your word for what it is?
Can you repeat that question?
Do you believe that the boxes that are in the evidence that we presented today clearly establishes exactly what's inside those boxes?
No, because they didn't take photos of every single item in the boxes.
When the police questioned you about that incident on the 20th, did they ask where the box or the dumpster was?
No.
You didn't think
I don't
to
recall.
tell them where the dumpster was so you could, prove what your claim was?
No, I was just cleaning out my garage for inventory and tossed everything. But I do have the spices still in my garage.
So you kept the spices and threw out everything else.
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall where the dumpster was?
Yes.
Okay. And in the police report, they said it was an unknown location. Do you have an idea why they might write that?
Because they didn't ask me where the dumpster was.
Okay. And you said you filed a police report following the October 22nd, 2022 incident. Is that right?
I filed a police report against Precious Dawson for harassment.
So on October 22nd, 2022, you filed a police report against Precious and not your mother?
Why would I file a police report against my mother?
Well, you stated earlier you filed a police report after she almost hit you with her car.
I didn't file that police report.
Did you? Was there any report taken?
No, I don't believe so.
So you never talked to the police on October 22nd, or yeah, 22nd, 2022.
I don't recall, no.
Okay.
No, I was just wanting to have a conversation that day with my mom. There was no need to involve the police that day.
Okay. And you said you were trying to have a conversation with your mom that day,
Yes.
and you were standing behind the car when you were having that conversation?
Well, I didn't get the opportunity to have a conversation with my mom because she pulled off fast, like really fast, and she backed out really fast, almost hitting me.
Okay. And you've talked to your sister about the belongings that were thrown in the dumpster, isn't that true?
My sister, yeah, I think so.
You think you talked about it?
I mean, my sister and I, we talk often.
I mean, the police were called on that incident on that day, right? And you don't recall having a conversation with your sister?
I remember having a conversation with my sister, but we have multiple conversations. So what conversation are you talking about?
When you agreed to buy a new coat for her?
Yeah, well, I buy my sister stuff all the time, and I send her money all the time. When she was living with me, I would give her money for lunch. I would take her shopping. She would use my card to, shop on Fashion Nova and Shein. So I take good care of my family.
And when your sister asked for you to buy her a new coat, that was in the context of the possessions that were lost on October 22nd, though.
I'm going to object. That would be a question for the sister. My client doesn't know why the sister was asking. All we can go on is what he put in evidence, which were the text messages, which don't state that at all.
And I'm asking about the context of that conversation, which she was a part of.
Okay.
Well,
So she can talk about the conversation and about her part in it, but she can't testify about what the sister intended.
Understood.
So I'm going to sustain that.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Any recross? I'm sorry.
yes, just briefly, Your Honor. You didn't file a case against your mother about the stolen items, is that correct?
Sorry?
You didn't file a police report or any kind of case against your mom for the stolen items, is that correct?
No.
Okay. And why is that? I mean, obvious reasons, but why is that?
At first, I was, upset that my mom would steal such valuable items that I worked so hard for. And I did go to the police. And then I just decided to drop it because at the end of the day, that's my mom, that's family. And I, take pride in taking care of my family. And I just decided to let it go.
Okay. And you were asked about text messages between you and your sister. Mr. Branch actually referenced, I think it was his petitioner's exhibit 7, when you were talking with your sister in November. When your sister actually asked you to purchase a coat, and I'm sorry, can we bring up, I guess, petitioner's exhibit 7?
Somebody step. There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
when your sister starts this text, she's asking for you to purchase a coat. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you actually said send the link, and she doesn't say you threw out my items. Please purchase me another coat. She just asked for another coat. And your response to that, do you go on to say, tell your mom to buy you the necessities you need?
I did.
Okay, so when Mr. Branch was asking you about your sister, actually, I guess he didn't use the word confronting, but I'm going to say confronting you about things being thrown away. Her initial text to you wasn't about any items being thrown away, right? It was about her, a coat being purchased by you.
Yes.
Had you purchased items before for her?
Multiple times.
Okay, and let me ask you, and you're not required to purchase people's coats, especially if they're not your children. But this particular time, you actually say, "Tell your mom to buy you the necessities you need." At that point, were you upset with your mother and felt like she needed to do that?
I just felt like, I'm taking care of my sister. I'm investing so much money into her. I was paying for her basketball. I had to pay $400 and then $250 per month for her to be in basketball. And at that time, I was like, you know what? You should ask your mom, since she does get child support, to take care of you. And that is an expensive coat.
Okay, no further questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me ask you this, and we can take the exhibit down. Thank you so much. The designer things that you had and all those things that were in the box, what was your mom doing for a living over the years to be able to afford designer bags and things that she says total $5,000?
Well, I was giving my mom $1,500 per week to help me with household duties, to help me with the children. And so she was, I don't want to say working for me, but I was just, sending her money every single week to assist me, around $6,000 per month.
Okay. And at that point, she wasn't living with you. Did she still have her own bills at her place?
Yeah, so February 2021 until present, my mom hasn't lived with me, but I would send her money occasionally.
Okay. All right. And so the designer bags, to your knowledge, would she have been able to afford those bags or any of those designer items?
No, the only designer bag that she owns, I bought it for her.
Okay. All right. And then even here today, do you believe that she would be able to afford those items here with the pro bono attorney today?
No, because she doesn't have a job.
Okay. No further questions.
I can recross, Your Honor.
You may.
All right, Ms. Howard. You're right. So the initial text that your sister sent you on the 14th was not a direct plea for anything related from those boxes. Madam Clerk, could you please share Exhibit 7 again? So, Ms. Howard, do you recall your sister's testimony from earlier today?
Yes.
And do you recall her saying that she sent you over a list of links for items that you agreed to replace?
Yes, but that's incorrect.
But you recall her saying it, correct?
I recall her saying it.
And then on November 14th, she says, I sent the link for it already. Is that correct?
She sent the link for the coat already.
Okay. And Madam Clerk, if you could move down to page 2. So all of the items in those boxes were designer?
Most of them, yeah.
Most of them? Do you wear old lady clothes?
Well, I'm a 36-year-old woman and I have 3 children, so sometimes I consider myself an older lady.
So the text where you say, and I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, if you could scroll down to page 3, actually, where you say you don't wear old lady clothes. Those old lady clothes are referring to yours. Is that
I'm
what?
going to object to the line of questioning, and I'm going to ask him to read the full. If he's going to reference what it says, I'm going to ask him to read the full because it says and tutus.
And tutus? I apologize.
Mr. Branch?
I will rephrase.
All right,
So
that's fine.
you were referring to your items. You don't wear old lady clothes and tutus,
Yes.
and those were your old lady clothes.
Yes, because I am an influencer and I do skits, so I also have props as well.
So it was designer
And
stuff.
multiple tutus as props.
Got it. So these boxes were full of designer products, tutus, and old lady props.
So it wasn't just one box. It's
Okay.
multiple boxes.
And no further questions, Your Honor.
All
And-
right.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to belabor the point, but if we can leave that up and go to page 4 of that. Your Honor, if you're not giving it much weight, then I can go on. But
You can put up your case.
okay, thank you. In this, what we're looking at, you don't say that you've thrown out any of your mother's stuff. You actually tell your sister to go to your mother's storage unit. Is that correct? Can you see it at the bottom?
Hold on. Yes.
Okay, no further questions.
No questions from me, Your Honor.
Okay. Any, all right, we can take this down. All right. Any other witnesses, Ms. Heron?
We have Mr. Barlow, and I know it's kind of late, Your Honor. But we have Mr. Barlow that was going to be testifying.
Okay. We can call him. If I believe he's still there, we will bring him in and swear.
Okay. And I'm sorry, Your Honor, and also I forgot Auntie Jillian.
All right, you may swear him and ask him questions.
Okay. Mr. Barlow, remove your hat, please. Thank you. Mr. Barlow, if you would raise your right hand and unmute yourself. Do you swear, I'm sorry, is that you? Okay. Do you swear and affirm that testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. I want to ask you, and I think you sat in on Ms. Howard, the petitioner's, Latoya's mom. You sat in on her testimony, and you heard her actually state that really she thought between the three of you guys, Latoya, Ms. Howard, you or Auntie Jillian, as she's been referenced to, had slashed her tires. Can you tell me what happened when Miss Howard actually came to drove up and dropped off Miss Howard's sister?
Well, actually, on that particular day, they were in the parking lot beforehand, and Latoya and I and the kids, we were on the way back to the house, and we pulled up, and we saw them sitting over there in the car. I grabbed the kids, and I took the kids in the house, and that's when Latoya and Jillian walked over there to the car to talk to them. So I took the kids into the house, and then Victoria went downstairs.
Okay. Were you outside after you took the children into the house? Were you outside after that?
No, ma'am. the kids were very anxious. They were hungry, so I had to feed them and just try to keep them distracted and just keep them basically just do what I do to help out in the house.
Okay, I have no further questions.
I have no questions for this witness.
Okay. All right. Ms. Heron, do you have any other witnesses?
Just Miss Jillian, who should be in the waiting room.
All right, we will bring her in.
Recording in progress.
I think that is our Zoom them, but there's some feedback that needs to be adjusted.
Miss Danford, it shows on the screen. Miss Danford, can you speak so we can see where that feedback is coming from?
Yes, this is Miss Danford here. Jillian Danford.
Okay. Your Honor, are we good?
Yes, I think we're good.
Okay. Thank you. Miss Danford, if you raise your right hand.
Certainly.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God, yes, I do.
Okay. And please state your name.
My name is Jillian Danford, first name spelled Jillian. Last name is D as in Danny, A-N, F as in Frank, O-R-D.
Okay. And Miss Danford, are you referred to as Auntie Jillian?
I am.
Okay. How would you prefer that I refer to you on today?
Well, because we're in court, you can refer to me as Miss Danford or Jillian Danford.
Okay, thank you. And forgive me if I say Auntie Jillian.
No, go ahead. This is what the world says.
Okay. And so I want to ask you some questions. We're on October 22nd. Were you at the location where Miss Howard, and I'm talking about LaToya's mom, actually dropped off her daughter to Miss Howard?
Yes, okay. I was there.
Okay. Can you tell me what happened when she pulled up?
So Miss Howard, Debbie, that is, pulled up and she dropped off her daughter, Victoria, who resides with LaToya. And I should first tell you, I don't know if you know that I was visiting from Canada. This is where I reside in Canada. And I was visiting for LaToya has 3 children and one of them were having a birthday. So I'm very close to them. And I attended the birthday and a lot of drama happened while I was there.
Okay. And if I can stop you there, if you can identify, what is your relationship to Miss LaToya Howard?
I am her aunt. My brother and her mom, Debbie Howard, had LaToya as a teenager. So LaToya grew up with my family. Okay. So yeah, I'm the oldest of my siblings. So really, LaToya grew up with my family.
Okay, thank you. And go ahead, tell us what happened that day.
So Miss Howard, Debbie that is, dropped off her Victoria, her daughter, and all of a sudden, we were pulling up at the same time, but we were parked. And down the street came Debbie Howard. And we all came out the car. And Earl took the 3 kids, because it was myself, Earl, Debbie, the 3 kids, and my daughter, who's 24 now, in the vehicle. So I'm always the peacemaker. So I figured because of the relationship that they've had, this is what happens in their relationship. It's just pure drama. If Debbie Howard does not get her way, it becomes a problem. We've been going through this. I am 58 years old. I have known Debbie now for she's 53. I've known her since she was 15 years old. And it's just one thing after the next. But I've never seen it escalate like this. So Earl took the 3 kids in the house and my daughter stayed on the porch, and LaToya opened the door and she ran up to the car because there was an altercation with one of LaToya's childhood friends who was spreading rumors on social media. I mean, this is what these people do. They go on social media and they get paid for drama. That's what Miss Howard and her witness does. So Latoya went to address her about a situation that happened. And I ran up to the car with Latoya because I figured, okay, I don't want anything to happen here. And the passenger side door was her other daughter sitting in it. And Miss Howard backed up, put her car in reverse. Now they had some words. Debbie and Latoya exchanged words. When Latoya ran out the car, she said, "Mom." And that's when I darted as well. So Miss Howard, Debbie, reversed the car, almost hitting Latoya. I couldn't believe it. And she put the car quickly into drive and then took off. And we called the police. And the police came, and I guess they must have done a report. And I was just shaken up because I just saw what was going to happen. She almost ran over her daughter. So we went in the house and we waited for the police and then gave a police report about what happened. Next thing you know, that was on October 22nd. And the drama just continued. It continued. I extended my time to stay in Atlanta. I was only going to be there for a week, but I extended the time in case I was needed to help rectify any situations, because I'm a peacemaker. This is what I'm doing. I'm a retired officer of the court. So, I mean, it's just in my nature to make peace. Now I am in media and television. So, I mean, I have to abide by the law. I'm telling the truth. And I have never seen, I left there in mayhem. I had to come back home and I left there. And now I'm on a police report saying that I slashed tires. I don't understand. Debbie knows exactly what she's doing. She knows that this is wrong. It's just a
All right, so I'm going to intervene. At this point, I need just about facts and things that she's witnessed to.
Right, okay.
I would ask that the testimony be kept to that.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. Have you had a chance to see the police report and the supplemental report that Miss Howard actually filed?
I saw a police report with my name on it.
Okay.
Saying that she alleges that I slashed her tires.
Okay. And hold tight 1 moment, okay? If we can show Respondents Exhibit 2, which is the police report, the supplemental. It's the police report and the supplemental is attached. And it is labeled in addition to R2, October 20th, 2022 police report. And as that's coming up, did you see anybody banging on the car window?
Absolutely not. It was a word of war. It was a war of words. And then a quick action of a reverse. An accident almost happened. And then she put her car in a quick drive and sped off. And the passenger side door was still open.
Okay. And can you see the police report on the supplemental on your screen?
I can, and I'm just zooming it up. Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So are you telling me that nobody vandalized the vehicle?
No, absolutely not. How I wouldn't even know how to begin to slash a tire. I could hardly put air in a tire. And how possible is that when all of this incident happened like in less than 2 minutes? I would say 2 to 3 minutes. How do you slash tires within that? And I wouldn't even know how to slash a tire. Debbie left that residence with her car intact.
Okay, and let's go to, can we go to the next page, Ms. Broom? And so when you see where it says, while she was yelling, her auntie Jillian and her boyfriend Earl approached my vehicle and started vandalizing my vehicle by banging on the car windows and kicking my vehicle. Now, had Earl already taken the children in the house?
Earl was already in the house with the 3 young children. He did not come out the house. The only people that were there were myself and Latoya and my older daughter watching from the from Latoya's front porch. That was it. Earl was nowhere around.
Okay. And when you say there was a war of words, what do you mean by that?
Well, they were not arguing. My Latoya went up to her mom and said, "Mom, you have to talk to me." And then I guess they must have been yelling back and forth. And all of a sudden, car went into reverse, almost hit Latoya. And then I guess Miss Howard, Debbie, got nervous or afraid, and she put her car in drive and she sped off. It was very, very fast. Nobody hit her car. Nobody slashed her tires. As I said, she left there with her car and her tires and everything intact. And we called the police right away. All of this banging on car windows and kicking vehicle, this is such a lie. It's so untrue. It's so malicious. Absolutely not. This did not happen.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank
today.
you. Thank you. And if you want to witness, my
All right.
daughter is
Ma'am,
there as well.
ma'am,
Yes,
let
Your
the
Honor.
attorney please handle the case.
Okay, yes.
And thank you. You need to hang on while the other attorney can cross-examine you, okay? And we can take this down, the exhibit down.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Branch.
Thank you, Your Honor. And how are you doing, Miss Danaford?
I am fine, thanks.
Good, good. So you would agree that when Debbie showed up at the house, Latoya ran out the house to engage with her?
She did not run out the house. She ran out of her vehicle because we were pulling up at the same time.
So she ran towards.
She was yelling, "Mom, I need to talk to you."
Okay. And immediately following that, you called the police?
Following that, well, yeah, after that,
Following the entire incident when she
yes,
left,
the police, I never called the police. The police was called.
and who called the police?
I'm not certain who called it. I don't know if Latoya called it or if Earl called. I'm not sure who called the police. I wouldn't even know the police's number in
Did
Atlanta.
you give a statement in that report?
I'm sorry?
Did you give a statement in that report?
No, I did not give a statement. It was Latoya and the police officer speaking.
Okay. And you, prior to that incident, you had communicated with Miss Howard, so Latoya's mom, correct?
For the entire time I was there.
Okay, so on October 20th, you had exchanged text messages with Latoya's mother?
Yes, I did. I told her about things that were going on, and I told her that she's much too old to be involved in any of this, what's going on. And I tried to do what I normally do, keep the peace. And I told her I didn't want people attacking her on social media to remove herself from the lady that's her witness.
Okay. Madam Clerk, could you please bring up Petitioner's Exhibit 11? And ma'am, that is your name, Julian Danaford Auntie, listed at the top of that message chain.
I'm trying to zoom up to see if I can make this closer. But that would be me, yes, Auntie Jillian. I cannot read what it's saying.
Okay.
Any way we can make it a little closer?
Madam Clerk, if you could zoom. That any better for you?
Yes.
Okay, and you
But
recall sending those text messages on October 20th?
Call me. I'm scared. No, that's not me.
You're right. These are messages you received from Ms. Howard on October 20th.
Call me. I'm scaring you to call me ASP. I'm asking you to call me sis. Yes, because she would call me sis. Yes, she's asking me about her property, which I had no idea of or what.
You had no idea? at that point?
I don't know anything about any property. I'm visiting there and I'm already traumatized because of all this drama that's going on.
Okay,
And she's asking me about property and where this property is. And I have messages myself. I don't know about property or which bin
ma'am,
or anything.
We'll get to what you know from these messages in a second. But Your Honor, I'd like to tender Exhibit 11 into evidence.
I'm sorry, what is Exhibit 11 exactly?
These are text messages between Julian Danaford and the petitioner on October 20th and 21st.
Okay, can we scroll down and see the rest of everything?
Right? Yes.
Okay, and
That's all me there.
and the third one, I'm sorry, I think the last page. Okay, no objection.
Okay.
All right,
Madam,
it's submitted without objection.
thank you. And Madam Clerk, could you go to page 2 of these messages? And actually, that's perfect right there. So, Ms. Danaford, could you please read the first paragraph, or first 2 paragraphs of that text message you sent to the petitioner?
Good morning. Nobody is giving me a location of where the dumpster is. I thought the police worked that out last night. Latoya said it wasn't Victoria's things, but it was yours.
Thank
What?
you. That's all, Your Honor. No further questions.
All right, Ms. Heron.
If we can leave this up, and so I'm gonna ask you to go ahead and continue reading. Excuse me. I want you to go to page 3. And I want you to read from page 3, okay?
Okay.
Let's see. All right. I'm looking at it on my screen as well to make sure. When you actually are asking on page 3, Debbie, when will you be at Latoya's? You and I need to have a serious discussion. What was the discussion going to be?
The discussion was about her friend Precious was on social media telling everyone that my husband is a child molester. I woke up one morning to hearing this and people messaging me and saying, did you see what they were saying about Uncle Warren? And so the messages that I received that I was speaking to Debbie, I knew that it was her going back and telling Precious. So I told her when she comes to Latoya's house, we need to have a serious discussion about what she has been saying.
Okay. And so I want to ask you, when you actually ask on page 3, what is this story about you stealing her purses? Did she respond back to you about stealing Miss Howard's purses?
No.
Okay. Why did you ask her about stealing Miss Howard's purses?
Because I kept hearing about stolen purses now for months. And I never had the opportunity to address Debbie about it. So I figured that now that I'm here in person, let's just talk about everything. So I was asking her, what's the situation about these stolen purses? And I didn't get a reply.
Okay, thank you.
And one final follow-up question, Your Honor. So Ms. Danforth, so essentially you're saying your message in response is based on information you received from Latoya?
Messages, say that again?
The message that you wrote and sent to the petitioner in this case was based on information provided to you by Latoya.
In this, what I just read here,
Correct.
are we talking about the purses?
The whole thing, everything that you were reaching out to her about was.
Well, not not everything. I was there to witness things that were being said about myself and my family.
Understood.
The only thing that I said to her that Latoya told me was about the purses. Everything else I was there to witness and hear myself.
Okay. And so you witnessed her throwing things in the dumpster?
No, absolutely not. I don't know anything about the dumpster.
Your response was based on Latoya's information?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything else, Ms. Heron?
Yes. Miss Danford, so Miss Howard told you about her mom stealing the purses. Did she appear to be upset when she was telling you about that?
Latoya told me about these purses months ago, and she was upset, but the conversation was, that's my mom. That's my mom.
Okay.
And she spent a lot of money on the purses, and, of course, she would never not leave the back of her mind that these are my expensive purses and my mom stole them.
Okay, no further questions.
And I have no further questions either, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Any other witnesses, Ms. Heron?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Branch?
Would you like me to stop sharing, Judge?
Yes, please. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
I do not, Your Honor.
Okay. I'll hear very brief because I've got a lot of information. I've heard from a lot of witnesses. I've taken notes. I will hear from the parties for a brief summary on what they think the evidence showed. And Mr. Branch, since you have the burden, you may open and close, or you may waive opening.
I'll waive opening.
All right, Ms. Heron.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I want to first start with the police report that clearly is inconsistent with what Ms. Howard, and that would be Mom Howard, has said today. You've heard from 3 different people that actually said Mr. Barlow, first of all, had taken the children in the house, and he was not even around. And then we look at the police report, and we're looking at the supplemental, and we see where Miss Howard says that her vehicle was vandalized. We don't see any pictures from any kind of vandalized vehicle. She then actually states in her supplemental report that AAA had come out and looked at her vehicle and made a determination, even though we don't have any paperwork and I don't know what authority they have to say this was intentional, this was an act of family violence. That's not AAA. That's Miss Howard saying that. Nothing in her police report added up to what she's actually said today, and it was very inconsistent to what the witnesses actually said on today. Furthermore, we're talking about an incident that she's alleging in October. A lot of things are on her as far as any kind of proof. One, I'm concerned that I have a police report that says something totally different from what she's testified to today. And then number 2, if there were any kind of tires that were slashed, I would think that AAA is actually towing the car somewhere, and AAA is certainly not giving her tires for free. I don't see receipts where she's purchased new tires. I don't see any of that. All I see is 4 flat tires that Miss Howard actually drove 15 to 20 minutes in her own testimony from the house where she's saying people actually, one moment she says they were kicking her tires, then she says that they slashed her tires. She's given so many different variations of what she's saying is happening. Unless these people really are Wolverine from the Marvel movies, then I don't think they had claws to actually puncture her tires. I believe Miss Howard is lying. I believe Miss Howard has a motive to actually lie on today. And I mean, I don't want to call her that, but what do we see from the police report? She sends an email. She doesn't call the police on the 22nd. She doesn't call the police on the 22nd. The day where somebody has attacked her, according to her, the day that somebody's vandalized her vehicle, no pictures, the day that these people have just really come after her, but we don't see any kind of police report. What we see is a supplemental report, but it's an email. The police are very detailed in saying, this is an email that we received. And it looks like a narrative. It's her narrative. The police have no independent evidence. They don't go out. They don't see any tires. They don't do any of that. You would think she would call the police at that point. But then, in addition to that, we have where Miss Howard, let's go with LaToya Howard, very loving text message, November 4th, asking for her mom to actually talk to the daughter about what's going on around the house. And that's it. And from November 4th up until the time that she filed this, there is no contact between Miss Howard mom and Miss Howard daughter. So how is she in fear? How is she in fear? And how is she in any kind of imminent danger? It's just not there. In addition to that, if she thought she was in danger, why, after you file a TPO, or why, after these alleged incidents, do you even go to the person's house? I mean, the whole purpose of a TPO is for the person to be 200 yards away from you, 2 football fields, by the way. But no, she doesn't stay away. She goes into what she considers danger, whether she got out of the car or not. Because here's the thing about that. What she alleged happened in a parking lot. So she's going to put herself back in harm's way. So I'm not buying the fact that she feels comfortable going and dropping off this child this year, mind you, after she's actually filed a TPO against Miss Howard. She goes to a parking lot. So whether she went in the house or not, the incident that she alleged was in a parking lot. So for her attorney to sit here and say, well, did she get out of the car? Did she do any of that? She didn't get out of the car before, according to her. And you have Auntie Jillian, who's actually trying to play peacemaker, who actually said, hey, Miss Howard just wanted to talk to her mom. She rushed out to say, Mom, we need to talk. Not, Mom, let's fight. Not, Mom, get out of the car so I can beat you up. None of that. No threats were made whatsoever. Miss Howard said she wanted to talk to her mom, that her mom had not been responding to anything. And not only that, but Auntie Jillian actually stated that. Even when we look at these purses, whatever was in the boxes, one, why doesn't Miss Howard have a list, Miss Howard mom that is, have a list of what was in the boxes? Why would she? Why would she if she actually stole these items? I wouldn't come with a list either of stuff that I stole. And again, this is stuff that happened, according to her, back in October. Now, here's what I know as Miss Howard's attorney, that Miss Howard actually has a divorce hearing coming up in which, who's going to be a witness? Her mother. Her mother is one of the witnesses. So I don't see what sparked Miss Howard to come here and file a TPO in January after having no contact with Miss Howard. Even Miss Howard's daughter actually stated, hey, at this point, it's a toxic relationship. I let it go. She was very adamant that she wanted to talk to her. Her mom about the situation, about what was going on. But after October, it was like she kind of washed her hands of it. So why are we here today? Even if you're Honor was on the fence, then I would think that November, December, January, February, March, that's a 5-month TPO right there that wasn't in place. So why are we putting in a 12-month TPO today for somebody who has not contacted her at all? Ms. Howard has not gone on social media and said anything about her mother. She has not texted her mother other than November 4th. So I'm not sure why we're here today, Your Honor. I am not. But Your Honor, I would ask that this case be dismissed, this TPO against Ms. Howard be dismissed, because denied, I'm sorry, because there's no need for it. The evidence speaks for itself. I mean, Ms. Howard has maintained that my items were stolen. I didn't have proof of it until I'm cleaning up, go through these boxes, and bam, here's all the stolen items, my items that my mom has stolen. Now I have proof. And she throws the items away. Her stuff. But I would think that Ms. Howard, I don't want to say senior, but the mom would actually have a list of all the items, receipts of all the items. She didn't even go to magistrate court or any kind of court to even file a civil action. But she says, oh, I didn't do that because I was in fear. But you go on Instagram and you talk about Ms. Howard. So you weren't that much in fear. So if she really, really, really wanted to get items that she believed were hers, she would go to magistrate court. The police report said they told her to go to, it's a civil matter. Go ahead and go and file something. It's $5,000 according to her. Here's the other thing. The daughter didn't testify to any electronics, any kind of computer that Ms. Howard actually said was in the boxes. None of that. So this was, I don't know what the motive is, honestly. But I will say Ms. Howard did testify that she actually testified against her mother. And I'm saying against it, but more so for the dad to say, yes, my little sister has been living with me. But why we're here today, I have no idea. But I know Ms. Howard has a divorce case on Monday. And I don't want to speculate, but I mean, I don't know why she would file this. But Your Honor, in the sense, Ms. Howard has stayed away for 5 months.
All right. And Your Honor, there was a lot.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Branch.
And I'll be brief. We heard a lot from that closing argument, and they keep on bringing up this divorce hearing that's coming up, but I don't recall hearing that at all during this hearing today. So by pointing to that as a motive, maybe should have discussed this a little bit sooner. In terms of Victoria staying at the home, well, they want to maintain a relationship between these sisters, and the animosity between the parties has been directed entirely at my client, not at the daughter. A protected party is almost always going to list the minor child of that person. This is not an intentional thing. It's just the general rule, and this was not a petition filed on the behalf of Victoria. So we are focused here on Ms. Howard's issues with her daughter and formally with the respondent, Mr. Barlow. So the opposing counsel pointed to the police report that was taken in October of 2020. They say it's inconsistent, but whoever took that police report clearly didn't really care about the case that they were walking up on, because they didn't even ask Miss Howard where the dumpster was. They didn't investigate at all. They took her at her word and walked away. Now, I think that's laziness, but not anything that should point to the fact that my client doesn't have a valid claim. Now, there has been an inconsistent story by all of the respondents' witnesses as well regarding the incident on the 22nd, because apparently there were 4 people at this altercation that occurred on the 22nd. There was, I believe, one of the witnesses' daughters was there that has not been disclosed. So there's inconsistencies all around, but we can agree that there was a confrontation that escalated quickly, and the petitioner left the scene quickly as well. Now, the opposing counsel is challenging AAA's credibility and being able to establish what punctured a tire, but she seems to be an expert herself in establishing what can actually cause damage to a tire or how long someone can drive on a punctured tire. So that should not even be considered. It is common knowledge that a tire can drive even with a slight leak in it, and it's very coincidental that 4 tires were popped immediately after leaving the scene on October 22nd. Now, the opposing counsel also wants the receipts for every item that my client has ever owned and that could have been in those boxes. Well, her client has not provided any kind of receipts as well for her claims that she focused the entire case on related to her theft. There was documents in the evidence that she submitted, and she didn't provide that. She hasn't provided the police report that she allegedly took on October 22nd, and the respondent didn't even recall taking a police report on the 22nd. So who really lacks credibility in this case? The person that can't remember calling the police and talking to them, or the person that has been dealing with this, suffered from attacks by the respondent years before and has let things go, and now things have escalated again. This is a pattern that it goes on between these parties, and if a protective order isn't issued, it is likely to occur again. Thank you.
These kinds of cases are very sad when they come before the court and dealing with families that have multiple layers of bad dynamics going on. I try my best to resolve conflicts in testimony as if no one is lying to the court and they are from different perspectives. And often the truth lies in the middle. But I have to do my best to do that. And in these cases, by a preponderance of the evidence. And here there is clearly ongoing animosity between the parties for different reasons between the different parties. But given the timing, and most importantly, of all the evidence I've heard, and I've heard different things about different parties making different statements before and after different TPOs being issued, or the ex parte being issued. But what is striking to the court the most is that there have been no alleged incidents since October of 2022, and the parties do not reside near each other. And so, based on everything that I've heard, with an adult mother and daughter who haven't had an incident since October of 2022 and don't live near each other, I cannot find by preponderance of the evidence that an extension of the order.
Well, that's the end of that video, guys. I caught it just in time. She did not put the orders in place. And yeah, very, very interesting. I would love to hear your comments down below, what you think about this case, what you think about the mother-daughter thing, and how you think the lawyers did. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching court in my kitchen with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.